What's up guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking into how to make a Star Fortress generator, including barracks and cannons. Okay, so to start off I'm going to show you my slider deck here, right at the beginning of the code. So we have four main groups, the bastions, which are these pointy areas, the base polygons, so you can get the actual shape like a square or a pentagon, the fortress profile, which gives you this particular wall drawing here and here, and of course the barracks, which are also the lightest part of the code. So starting off on the top, I'm going to change this value to its minimum, so 0.5, and you can see that we get a much more star looking shape there. And if I bring it up all the way to maybe 80, you will see that you get a far larger curtain width. As for the shoulder depth, which affects this measurement here, I'm going to change this to let's say 2, which should be about half, like that exactly. And as for the sharpness, we can make it either much sharper or less sharper. So we have 4 if you want to make it sharper, and then we can place in 2 if we want to make it less sharp, like that. Okay. As for our base polygon, I'm going to change this radius to about 5 if I want to make it smaller, like that. And I can also change the height depending exactly on what kind of hillside you are on. You always want to adjust this value. As for the size, we're currently at 7. I'm going to move it to about 5 to make it look more like a star-shaped fortress, like so. And now for the fortress profile itself, we can of course adjust the summit. I'm gonna make this one a little bit lower. However, you can make it however you see fit. As for the ridge, which is this area here, we're trying to adjust an offset. So I'm gonna put this one at 0.6 to make it slightly larger, like so. And as for the waist, I'm going to increase this to about 3 to see how it interacts. And yes, just like that, you can see it essentially increases the wall side and diminishes its berm area. And of course, for the berm itself, this is also an offset. I'm going to actually decrease it to 0.3. like so. Also going to bring this down a bit to 1.5. About half should do it, because we don't want to have that large of a ridge. And of course our trusted barracks. So we can also change these. So we have the depth. As you can see, you can change the building's depth. You can also adjust the width. So you can even make it go outside of the fortress itself, and then bring it all the way back in. We also have the radius, which allows us to adjust the building's locations without changing its overall width. And of course, last but not least, the barracks height, if we want to make these buildings taller or lower. Okay. Also, one thing I did not mention, which is the foundation. So if you have a large terrain with many hills or mounds, you can easily come here onto this MD slider and simply adjust its position. I'm going to push it all the way up here, like that. Of course, you can adjust this as you see fit. Preferably, you want to get these castles or fortresses on top of mounds, which is their primary location, at least historically when they were built, as you can see on these examples up here, like the Dutch example, the Portuguese example, and of course this general schematic. Okay, so now let's see how this code is made. Okay, so before we start, I'm gonna ask you to smash that like button and subscribe. It really helps me to keep these tutorials going. And the first thing I want to talk about is about the Rhino elements. For this exercise, you want to get yourself a new surface, as I'm doing here with this surface point with 4 points. Next up, you want to rebuild this surface. I'm gonna go for about a point count of 10 by 10. That should be enough. And then you want to activate your points like this. And now you can select any points actually, and build a few mounts here and there. I'm gonna pick up these 2 points here and select the surface. Push it up. I'm gonna push this one as well, to give it a bit more of a variety of mounts. Okay. Down here, these are some of the assets we're going to be using. So this is just a simple house block, and of course you have this cannon model, which I will be providing with a link in the description, and of course this massive shape, which will be used to cut through the fortress's ridge to give a viewpoint for our cannon. Also, this very important line here that stretches from the middle of the larger edge to the middle of the shorter edge of our section surface here, or object. This will also be very important for our orient component. Okay, and these are the essential Rhino elements you will be needing. So the first component group we're going to need is going to be our foundation. So to start off, you want to get yourself a surface, and we want to assign our relief surface here, like that. Of course, now we want to be able to place a point anywhere on the surface, and to do that, you want to get yourself an evaluate surface. You want to place your surface in there. Do not forget to parametrize. And now, in order to move in our point, let's get ourselves an MD slider, and let's place it into our point. And as you can see, we can freely move a point around our surface. I'm gonna place ours around this massive mount here, so should be just about here. Okay, right on top. Perfect. Let's group this into a group called foundation. Foundation. Okay. Okay, with our foundation point done, we want to set up a move component here. We can add in our point. Let's also add in a Z axis there, and let's give it a measurement of about 10.0. Actually, sorry about that. 10.0 slider, like that. Let's place it in there. And now we want to add in a polygon, which will serve as the base shape of our fortress, like that. Let's also bring this value down because it's way too high. Let's put it at about 1. One should do it fine. Okay, good. As for our radius, let's get ourselves a number set at around 10. I'm gonna place in a value of 2. That's kind of small there. So let's crack this up to about 5. Yeah, 5 looks good. Just gonna hide these elements here. Also this one. And as for our segments, I'm gonna place in a value at around 7. Let's bring this into there. Now let's line these up nicely. This one down here. After this, you want to add in an explode component to explode our curves into its many sides. And we're going to need these vertices here. But as you can see, we have 7 segments, but 8 vertices, which means one of them is duplicated. And to change this, we just need to add in a remove duplicate points, which you can find in your kangaroo component. And yeah, this is essentially our base polygon. Let's group this up. We're gonna name this base polygon. Also going to hide this. Here you can name it the same thing, also base polygon, like so. Let's change this name to radius. This one can be sides, and this one here can be height. Just change that to height, like that. Next up, we want to get ourselves an evaluate curve. Let's get our segments in there. Do not forget to parametrize these. And now let's get ourselves a number slider of 1.00, which would be the equivalent to 100% on our curve. Like that. Okay. However, we only want to interact with half of our curve, specifically the second half on our slider. So to do this, we just go into our slider, and then we're going to change our minimum value to 0.5. And now, as you can see here, we only need to interact with half of it. Okay. We also want to add in a rotate. We want to add in our segments again. And of course they are all the way out there, so to keep them in line here, we're going to get ourselves a curve middle. We're going to bring in our segments again. We're going to add into our plane, and yeah, that will give us our new 7 axes. And the reason we want this here is that so we can build an STL line to build the shoulders of our bastions. So we add in an STL line. Let's bring in our points into here, like that. As for the direction, let's get ourselves our geometry here. However, we want to make sure this works properly, so I always advise to add in a vector component, like so. And if by any chance these turn in the wrong direction, just add in a negative value. Place it into there, and they will change accordingly. However, there will be times where you won't have shoulders per se, because you want a completely star-shaped fortress. And to make sure that's not a problem, let's add in a remove duplicate points, so that we do not have any extra points clogging our geometry. Like that. Okay. Let's hide all of these values. Like so. We just want to keep this base one here. However, we want to be able to adjust the length of our STL line, and also not be able to change it whatsoever if we decide to change it into a fully star-shaped structure. So to do this, I'm going to add in a new number slider back here. I'm going to place it at 10.0. This value is kind of high, but you can just adjust this as you see fit for your fortress. And we need to construct a very special domain here. So let's place in a remap numbers, and into here, since we only have half of the normal domain here for our value input, we want to place in a multiplication value. Let's place this one in here, then into here. And now let's multiply this by a double dash number of 2 on our panel. Let's stretch this out a little bit. And we can place this value into here. Okay, now as you can see, as we change the points position here, it's also changing the length of our SDL curve. But now, to get a better control of this, we want to add in a construct domain. Let's copy and paste these values, place one into the source and one into the target. And now we want to place in our length number into the highest number on the target domain, like that. So now, if I want to change this, I can. But if I want to change this one as well, as I push it up to the center, it will adjust accordingly. However, you see that as we place this value onto the very minimum, we still have a distance showing here. And to change this, what we need to do is we need to invert the values of this domain, and to do that we just need to place in _1 for our domain start. Let's copy and paste this value here, and we want to place this domain at 0, like that. And now if I want to change this value, I can't, because this one is at its very minimum. However, if I change this, as you can see here, now I can change this one as you can see here. And also you can see that due to me flipping this domain, the direction of the SDL line has now flipped. So now we can remove this here, and you can see our line now interacts as we want it to be. Okay, now with this being done, let's simply add in all these elements into a new group. I'm going to place it up here. Also, you want to place this one into a group as well, get them aligned. This one a bit more up here. I'm going to name this one Bastion Shoulders, which are the side of the shoulders of the bastions, actually. Just gonna name this one Bastion Shoulders as well, like that. Okay. We want to set up our Bastion Sharpness, or how pointy we want it to be. And to do this, we want to start off with a line component. Let's place in our unique points into here, and our base geometry into here, like that. Okay. Next up, we want to add in an SDL line so that we can get our exiting lines. We want to place our line as its direction and the unique points as its start point. As for the length, you can place whatever value you want. I'm going to place a 10.0 value, but I'm going to bring it all the way down to about 3, because these values can get very exaggerated. Now, as you can see, our curves, or in this case our lines, are turning inwards. We want them to point outwards, so set up a negative value component and then simply replace it on the length input, as you can see on the image there. Okay, next up we want to add in a shift list there, because we want to change the list and how it will interact with our next elements. You also want to place in some endpoints and add them in as you see here. And this is essentially how you set up your Bastion's Sharpness parameter group. So let's join these into a group, and let's call this one Bastion Sharpness. Okay. Oh yeah, and do not forget to bring this one out because you want to place it somewhere else. So let's name this one separately, but also call it Bastion Sharpness. And in case you want to add this into another group, also call this Sharpness, let's say. Like so. Okay. So, next up, we want to set up our fortress's base shape. So I'm just going to hide all of these elements here. The same thing back here to clean up our image a bit. Bring this here forward. And the first thing we want to get ourselves is a curve middle component, and let's connect it to our segments back on the base polygon. And now we can push this up front, and we want to get ourselves a line. First off, let's get in our start point there, and to get the other points line, we want to get ourselves an endpoints from our previous STL line on the Bastion Shoulders. Let's bring it down here, and let's place its start point on the endpoint of our new line, like so. Also, let's copy and paste this, and let's bring this endpoint into the new start point, and also the endpoint from our Bastion Sharpness group into the endpoint there, like so. Okay. Now we can get ourselves a join curves. Let's bring in this one there. Oh. And also we want to bring in our STL line back here to get ourselves our base shape. We can now hide this one here, also hide all of these points, like that. Let's also increase the sharpness back here, so that this shape doesn't look so weird. Okay, let's, of course, we want to flatten all these, because as you can see here, they're still 14 separate curves, and we want to join them in so that they are reduced down to 7. Next up, we want to get ourselves a rotate 3D. Let's get our geometry in there. Let's switch our angle input to degrees, and let's add in a double dash 180, because we want this value to be fixed, not adjustable. For the center, we want to get ourselves our shift list. Oh, sorry, no, pardon. We want to get ourselves our endpoint there. Okay. As for the axes, we want to get ourselves our shift list. Just like that. Just as a reminder, as it is there, we can then use it for our rotation here. Let's bring this up a bit there. We want to keep our codes as tidy as possible.
Next up, we want to add in a join curves again.
same scheme. Don't forget to flatten these and put these in here like that. And now we want to make sure that we do not have any useless points. And as you can see here, we have all of these middle points here that we're not going to need. So to get rid of them, add in a simplify curve, so that our curves get fully simplified like that. Also, you want to get yourself a few important points here, so that we're going to need for later. So get yourself a curve middle again. We want to get it from these edges here, and of course we also want to rotate them. So let's place them into our geometry here. However, as this component does not accept points, we need to separate them on this output. So add in an explode tree. Place it in there, and now you want to find the output which holds your curves, which is the top one here. So let's bring that one into there. Let's bring this one back into here. Let's get ourselves some space. Okay, now we have the 2 points we need on each one of the bastions. And why do we need them though? We need them so that we can position our cannons later on. And to do this, we just need to isolate them now. So get yourself a simple point component and join these in there, both the midpoint and the rotated midpoint on your data, on your exploded data output. Okay, now we can hide all of these here. Let's get this one isolated up here, and now we can select these. Let's group them in, and I'm gonna call this one fortress shape, which, as you can see, is now the base shape to reach a completion. Okay, so moving on. Okay, let's just do a small recap and see how our values interact. So for the Bastion Shoulders, we can see how we can adjust the curtain width here. I'm actually going to change the name of this to curtain width. Okay, and also our Bastion's shoulders. So I'm going to call this one depth. Okay, and of course you can also reach a full star shape or a much more elaborate fortress design. We can also adjust our sharpness like that, and of course for our polygon base, we can adjust our radius, our sides down to 3. Yeah, do not forget to change the minimum value here to 3 to make sure your code doesn't break, and then you can bring it up, I believe, as much as you want. However, since I do not want this code to crash, I place 10 as my maximum and bring this down to about 5. And of course you can always adjust the height as you see fit. Okay, so everything's working so far. Now we need to build the polylines which will guide the fortress's profile. And to do this, the first thing we're gonna do is to build our summit. So let's pick up on our curve. Let's place it in there. I'm gonna get myself a Z value into there, and now you can adjust this value however you want, but since I do not want it to be too high, I'm just gonna place a number slider at 1.00 there. I'm gonna bring the value down to about 0.5. It should be about enough. Okay, let's group this one, and this one's gonna be the summit polyline. that. Okay. Next up, we want to add in an offset here for our curve. And let's place a value of 1.0 here for our distance. Okay, let's see how it interacts. Looks good. Actually, the offset component has a tendency to break down, and since this shape is fairly complex, I'm gonna go for a safer shape. So in this case, I'm gonna go for an offset curve loose. Yeah, instead. This one gives a far sense of security. Let's say. Okay, so now let's group this one up. I'm gonna name this one Ridge Polyline, which is the top outermost point, or in this case line. Then I'm going to get myself a new move command here. Let's connect it there, and place in a Z value. You want to bring this value down, so I'm gonna go for a negative value there, and I'm gonna place in a value of 1.00, actually 10.0. Okay. Once again, you can adjust this as you see best. Bring this one down, actually up in this case to about there. Let's bring this one forward. Let's group this, and I'm gonna name this one Waist Polyline. Sort of like the breakpoint. Okay, now the next one will be a bit more complex. We want to make our berm polyline, which will be the line that touches and adapts naturally to our terrain. And to do this, we're going to get ourselves another offset curve loose. Place it in there, and now once again get a value of 1.000 there. I'm gonna bring in the distance to here, and now we need to connect. We need to make this line here interact with our surface, and to do this, we need to get ourselves a project. Get into here, and now we need to get our surface, which is all the way back here. And to make this easier, I'm just going to make in another component there. I'm gonna bring it all the way up front, next to our curve here. Then simply replace it with a Shift Control. Oh, sorry, into the brep, like that. And as you can see, your shape can now adapt to the terrain. I'm gonna bring this down a bit here. With so many offsets, the code has always a tendency to break down, so be cautious on how you use them. Let's group this one here, and I'm gonna name this one Berm Polyline. Okay, we have here the 4 basic groups for our profile. Okay, so how to make the fortresses envelope. To do this, the first thing we're going to need is a loft component. Let's flatten these here. And now we need to make this in a very specific order. So let's start off with our base curve. The next thing you want to add in is the summit, like that. Next up, we want our ridge. Then we want our waist. and of course to finish off we want our bird. As you can see though, we have a very fashionable looking fortress here. You can keep this if you want to, but since we want something with a bit more, with a sharper look, let's say, we're going to need to add in some loft options. So let's write in loft options. Let's connect it into there. And the first thing we want to change is the closed part. So let's add in a Boolean toggle, and we want to get this shape closed so that we can apply Boolean differences. Okay. The other things we want to use is the type. Actually, that we want to work with is the type, which in this case would be the level 3, as in straight, and also the refit. We want to give it any value except 0. So let's add in a _3 and bring this out here. Let's first off sharpen it up like that, looking good. And now we also want to add this one in there. Okay, looking good. Very nice. We can now hide all of these. We won't be needing them anymore, at least visible. Okay, our castle, fortress is starting to take shape. Let's increase the sides here to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm gonna bring it up to about 7. I like having it in odd numbers, so yeah, looking good. Let's get all the way back here up to the front. Okay, now let's group this. I'm gonna call this fortress envelope. Like that. Okay. Now it's time to build our cannon planes. And this is where our handy points come in, well, handy. And to do this, we're going to start off with a curve closest point. We want to get our ridge polyline into the curve input and our points into the point input there, like that. Nice. Then we want to get ourselves a line component, and we want to get both our points into there, like that. And now we want to get ourselves a middle or curve midpoint, let's say. Okay. Let's get ourselves a rotate. Let's add in our midpoint as our plane and our line as the geometry. Okay, making these cross shapes on the side. Okay, next up we want to add in a flip curve because we want to flip its direction. And let's add in a construct plane, which will serve as the base plane for our cannons. And we want to get our points to serve as the origin value. That. We want our line here to serve as our X value and our rotated flip line as our Y value there. Yeah, and that's how you set up the planes. Let's just try and get this a little bit more tidied here. Okay, something like this should help out. Okay, let's group this up completely. You can also group this one in here if you want to. And I'm gonna name this one Cannon Planes. Now we finally add in our cannons. And to start off, we want to get ourselves a brep here. Let's copy and paste this component here, and also let's get ourselves a curve. Going into Rhino, let's select our curve as mentioned at the very beginning. You want to get yourself this curve right here under the massive shape. We're going to use this prep to assign the massive shape, and of course this one to add in our cannon build, like that. Okay, now the first thing we need to do is to construct a new plane, and we also need some endpoints here from our curve. In this case we want to add in our start point, like that. And as for the x and y axes, we only need the x value in this case, like that. And once this is built, also let me just go back here and hide all of these values. We're going to need to set up an orient component here, and we want our plane to be the source, and to both our breps to be in the geometry input. It's important to keep them graphed so that they don't mix up. And then we can use our previous plane from the previous group into our target. Just going to hide all of these first. Going to bring them up here. Now let's see how it interacts. Okay, the cannons, although large, really large, they are exactly in the needed position. However, if they are this large, naturally we want to make them far smaller, and to do this we just need to add in a scale component. We want to use our plane once again as our center, like that. And for the factor, I'm gonna get in a 1.00 number slightly there. And now we can easily bring them down. I'm going to bring them down to about, I'm going to put in 0.15. Okay. Once they've been properly scaled, now we need to break up this data. And to do that, we can add in an explode tree once again to get ourselves our two distinct branches. Okay. And we can see that the top one has the closed reps, and the same one, and the other one as well. So how do we make a distinction here? Usually we just need to set up a rep, and then we can see which is which. Okay, so this one is the large shapes, and these ones will be the actual cannons. Nice. Now we can hide these. We can select our entire code. Let's make a new group out of this. Actually, let's tidy it up a little bit more here, not to occupy so much space. And I'm gonna name this one Cannons, our main group. Now we need to put these giant shapes to good use here. We can't just leave them there, obviously. So we need to use them to subtract our much needed viewpoints from our walls here. And to do that, we just need to add in a solid difference. Solid difference. Okay. We want to add in our shapes on the B reps and our main loft on the A reps. Now if I am to remove this to hide this one and this one, you can see that now we have our openings from where our cannons will fire. Just gonna get a rep here for our cannons so that we can see them separately. Yeah, just like that. Okay, let's leave these here for now. Now it's time to set up our barracks. And to do that, we need to go all the way back here to the very beginning of our codes, right next to the base polygon. And the first thing we want to add in is a new polygon, a component here, and we want to add in the geometry as its planes, and we also want to keep the same number of segments, like that. As for the radius, you can place in a value. I'm gonna go for 10.000 because we want this to be as adaptable as possible. It's rather massive now, but we can bring it down slightly, like that. We want to get ourselves a nice plaza here. Next up, we want to explode our curves, as we did in the group above. And we also want to add in an offset. Since this shape is far simpler and it's broken down, an offset component shouldn't be a problem. And now I'm gonna add in a value of 1.00 on my number slider. Once again, you can make this bigger if you want to. You can make it adjustable like that. Okay, just gonna line these up here nicely. And now we can add in a second offset here. I'm gonna bring this curve into this one, and I will also multiply this value to serve as the new distance, like that. Okay, line these up nicely. Now once this is done, you want to add in a ruled surface, which will serve as the foundation of our barracks or whichever building you want to include into these rectangles here. Let's hide all of these. Now we can group them up. I'm gonna call these building plans or building foundations. And gonna do the same thing here, so building foundations. Actually, building plans. Let's place in our buildings. So let's add in a surface box here, and we want to add in our ruled surface as both our surface input and our domain input. We can also add in a height value here if we ever want to adjust. I'm gonna go for a slider with 10.0 to make it a bit more adaptable. Okay, now that is way too high, so I'm going to bring it down at about 1.5, looks good. Next up, I'm going to get myself a box morph. That will be our target. And now, I'm going to add in a brep here, and also a bounding box. Let's bring our shape into there. Let's get our box output into the reference and get our geometry into there. So now we can go back into Rhino, and let's select multiple breps, and we can select these two, the building itself and its roof. In your bounding box, do not forget to change this to a union box. And now if we go back to our fortress, you can see that we can now adjust this nicely like that. And also, if we go all the way back here to our building plans and we adjust these values, you can see how our building's depth, its width, and its distance can be adjusted nicely. So let's group these up completely. Put this there, bring this one down here. Gonna hide all these and also this one as well. And I'm gonna name this one simply Barracks. Nice. Finally, we're going to reel in all of our elements. Let's set up a rep, place our geometry into there. Now we can hide this one. Let's bring it all the way up to the front. We want to place it in line with our other two outputs here, like that. You might have also noticed that we don't seem to have a floor inside our surface here, inside our fortress actually. And to change that, we just need to add in a boundary surface here. And we want to get our base initial fortress shape and place it in there to give ourselves a floor like that. Perfect. And now let's drag this all the way out front the same way. We can now join all of these elements into one group. Let's align them up, and I'm gonna call these outputs. Of course, now we can theme our designs here with brighter colors and also with a better wireframe. So I'm gonna put in first a rep edges, and I'm gonna bring in all of our edges into here to sharpen them up. Like that. We can also hide these now. Okay, looking nice and sharp. Let's see this rendered, see how it looks. Okay, looking cool. Next up, we want to place in our colors. And to do this, first off we get some rep joins, 2 essentially. And we're gonna go for the center ones first. We basically want to get in our fortress walls and our floor. Get a custom preview. And let's give it a swatch, color swatch. I'm gonna change the hue value to 50 and gonna bring it all the way out there. Oops. Okay, looking nice. And now we want to do the same things for our assets. And to do that, we just need to pick them up. So our cannons up top and our barracks at the bottom. Bring them out slightly. Let's pull these ones out here, and now let's bring this one, keep it in here. And we can actually get some space here. Okay. And now we repeat the same process. Let's copy and paste these. However, we want to place these in a different color to get a better view. I'm going to bring this hue value down to 25, which gives us a much more orangey look. Let's bring it up there. And now we can finally join all of these in. Also this one in here. Add to group. And ladies and gentlemen, this is our final result. I am proud to show you our new Star Fortress generator. Let's come all the way back here to our initial values. I'm gonna bring these out here so that we can look at them all equally. Also the Bastion Sharpness, which I'm actually going to place next to the other Bastion sliders. right in the middle there. And now we can adjust these as we want. And yeah, that's essentially how you set up your very own Star Fortress generator. This could be useful for a historical project, for gaming, whatever you feel is best. Hope you guys like this tutorial. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me keep these videos going. And I hope to see you back here next time. Till then, cheers.